and his wisdoms. The one thing I can tell you up front is Kenny is both, he's got a massive heart, and he actually knows his place in the universe. He's got a great relationship with God. And we're not selling Bibles here, but we do know that it's very important to be spiritually connected, and definitely Kenny brings that. His beautiful wife, Honesty, it's in a name. It's really her name, Honesty. Okay. Keeps him just that honest. And his beautiful daughter, Cadence, who just had a wonderful birthday party last week. And everybody's running around and they're doing like makeover buses. And all I could tell you is, as being a dad, 100% Kenny is 100% authentic. As being a husband, he is first class. And as being a friend, I couldn't have a better friend. And with that, Kenny, can you just share what you're going to share with the people? And we want to thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't even know if I can stand up for all that. So thank you for that wonderful, amazing introduction. It's funny. Steve Jobs so eloquently said, he said, you can never understand the future looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. And 100% that's my life. I came from a small town in West Virginia. Wonderful parents, hardworking. They're in their, God, my mom's 72, my dad's 67. They still outwork me today. It's unbelievable. And they instilled that in me, and I always wanted more. And one of the biggest factors I've learned is to always be grateful, but never be satisfied. And just looking back at that, I always wanted more. I fell into chiropractic when I was 19 years young. I always believed in the power of the body. That the power of the body is the most magnificent thing, along with the mindset I've ever come across in my life. And I always believed that. And I would go through these movies as a kid and see myself in like leading roles in certain things, and I would somehow achieve these things, which, just looking back, it just blew my mind. I didn't understand really what I was doing at the time, but I kind of just got drawn into this. Well, what started to happen is I literally got a terrible migraines after I got into an auto accident. Led me into a chiropractic office. I was scared to death. Guy changed my life. I totally knew that was my calling. I went to be a chiropractor. Everyone told me I was crazy. But I've always learned in my heart, and it says in Proverbs, know them by their heart of hearts. And literally, when you know that, it just becomes a part of you. So I went to chiropractic college, had another epiphany. I had one of those kind of minds. I could look at something and I could regurgitate it, which is what our school system teaches to do. And then I would get a grade. And I thought, oh, I've got this down. Jay, as you so eloquently know, how many times do we have the same conversation over and over again? And so I'm going into the gym one morning just after class, and we took so many hours in class that the last thing you want to do is pick up a book and learn outside the classroom. And I ran into a good buddy of mine who's reading a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, for you guys that know me, I'm the most dense goofball you've ever met in your life. And what I mean by that is, I said, well, what's it stand for? What's the book about? And he's like, wow, influence, when friends influence people. And it just stuck out to me. So I picked it up. I started to read it. And it was so common sense. And then about a week or two later, I seen reading this wonderful book. And it was Awake to the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And it was about how to utilize neural linguistic programming or neural association conditioning to help rewire your mind. And it really intrigued me. I picked it up and I started to read it. And lo and behold, I go to open my practice, found a wonderful way to educate patients. About 2 years rolled by. I opened up in Dundee, Michigan, where I was there almost 17 years. Had the best patients on the planet, best staff in the world, totally blessed, some wonderful associates, just truly incredible. The people that I was able to attract in my life, thank God. And long story short, about 2 years into practice, I had a really phenomenal practice by numbers, but I wasn't where I needed to be. I knew there was more, and I was grateful, but again, I wasn't satisfied. And I believe God puts that in your heart. And what I've learned is the word desire, de meaning from in Latin, sire meaning father, from the Father. That's what that really means. And so I kept striving, I kept looking for more. And I picked up a book, and it was called The Science of Getting Rich. And if you haven't read that book, I think it was written in 1902 by Wallace Waddles. You need to pick that book up, and you need to read it over and over and over again. My father always pounded in my head, you don't own something until you can do it without thinking about it. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And so I read the book, it went right over my head. And here was the funny thing. There was nothing about money. It was all about your mindset. 2 years go by, I pick it back up, and I literally start to cry reading this book. And I just started to apply the principles. Before you knew it, my practice almost tripled in a matter of months. And I didn't know what I'd done to myself, and I got stuck. And after a few years, I quit doing the work, and I will never make that mistake again. It was the dumbest yet the most profound thing I'd ever done in my life. And as King Solomon said, where there is no vision, the people perish. But if there is a vision, the people don't perish. And it just started to literally blow my mind away when I started looking at this stuff. I literally, Bob had some, it's my mentor, Bob Proctor, that is. So fast forward, it was October of this year, past year, I should say, in 2019, my wife and I are at a wonderful seminar in Austin, Texas. I love to travel. I love to see the world. I love to experience things for myself and not through the eyes of someone else. And she hates it when I travel because I used to travel so much. And I've cut that back due to my daughter, my wife, and just what's important to me now. Well, I looked down and she goes, honey, you need to go to the seminar. She goes, this thing is incredible. She goes, you want to see Bob forever? He's 85 years young. So I booked that immediately. And that's something I'm going to talk to you about tonight. It's called the knowing and doing gap. And I'm going to go into this. And I book it. The next morning, my wife wants to go, and there's no more tickets. So I've been to California probably a dozen times, but I've never been to Los Angeles. I show up out there, I think it was a Wednesday, if I remember correctly. And I'm standing in line, and I just love people. I have literally just love to help people. If you ever meet me, I'm going to get the grocery cart for you. I'm going to open the door for you. I'm going to change your life. And I've had enough of those God moments in my life where God has shown me always give people more than what they come to you for. And I literally am standing in line, I'm talking, and this guy goes, hey, are you going to Proctor? I said, I am. He goes, well, I'm Brian Proctor, his son. Now, his wife, Corey, her dad was a chiropractor. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight is actually chiropractic philosophy. And it totally made sense to me. And so I get on this bus and we go over to the seminar, and I just can't get enough of this thing. The people were amazing. The energy was amazing. Just truly blessed. Well, the last day I'm there was a Sunday. It's 11:30 in the morning. I'm already supposed to be on the road to get back to the airport. And something told me to stay just a little bit longer. And I wanted to get every drop I could out of that seminar. And so I'm there, and Sandy Gallagher, who's Bob's business partner, she was a corporate investing banking lawyer. She merged $220 billion in bank mergers in her career. And she was known to be a lawyer, and her dad was a lawyer. And she left that to go work with Bob because that wasn't fulfilling her. And I ran into the same thing. You see, I love what I did as a doctor, but it wasn't me anymore. And I wasn't actually a doctor. And I'll explain this as we go. So anyway, she's talking about Spanx. I don't remember the exact lady who created Spanx. And she was talking about how Spanx started. And what she was talking about, and I didn't know this, guys, but apparently now Spanx, there are Spanx for men too. So when you look at my hair, it probably fits right in. So, but anyway, I listen to this. I'm on my way to the airport. I'm going up the escalator in Los Angeles, LAX, and I hear these two young women. And you ever have those moments in your life where something just stops in time and it just stops you, gut punches you? Well, this is one of those. You see, I always wanted to be a consultant. I always wanted to take people and be able to take it from here to here, like I had done in my own life, but I didn't know how I did it. And I didn't have a system until then. And so I literally am going up the escalator, and these two young women make a comment, oh my God, did you hear about Kobe Bryant just died? And my heart just stopped. You see, I graduated high school the same year as Kobe Bryant. And I always admired the work ethic of this young man. And it made me stop and think, why am I putting what I really want to do outside of myself instead of inside of myself? Because what I learned is when God impresses it upon you or in you, it's designed to be expressed. And we don't express that, what's impressed. What tends to happen is we actually start to get friction. We start to lose our gravity in what we're doing, and we lose our purpose. And that little flame starts to go out. I don't even believe this is true. Like I literally don't. I go upstairs, I'm looking at my, seeing this is fake news, that type of thing. And I'm in like a CNBC news store. And I'm buying some waters. And above me, literally, this is not 5 minutes later, it says, tonight on this show, Shark Tank, the founder of Spanx. And I swear on my life, as soon as they said that, I'm looking right at a Spanx store outside of the store I'm in. And I was like, holy smoke. So I go home, and when I was younger, I was more cavalier, I was a little bit goofier, and I would just go do things without discussing with my wife. And what I learned is we become what God has joined together, right? I think it was Matthew's in the Bible. It cannot be separated. And so it's like taking two drops of water and you connect the two together. They can't be taken apart. And that's the relationship that I have worked on continuously in my life. And I had to get her permission. And I wanted to do this. And all I wanted as a husband was to know that I had her permission to do so. You see, as a man, I needed to take some risks. I wasn't living anymore. I had a lot of things taken care of in my life, but I wasn't happy. I just wasn't fulfilled. And I wasn't being the man nor the father I needed to be. And here I am telling my daughter to take their dreams on, right? To live for those dreams. And I'm not even doing it myself. And so I tell her what I want to do. And she says, honey, you'd be wonderful at this. And so I decided to do this. I decided to make this investment in myself. And I did it. And I didn't know where it was going to go from there, guys. I had no clue. But what I've learned, it doesn't matter how. That's up to God. It's up to us to decide. And when you understand what decide means, decision in Latin, de meaning from, and decision comes from the root word caedere. It means to cut. And what I have found in this lessons that I've learned is that there's universal laws. And when I heard that word, I'm very spiritual and biblical. And what I mean by that is I'm biblical in the fact that I read about God. And God is literally so specific and so structured. And if you understand uni in Latin means one. And verse, that means voice. That's one voice. That's God's voice. And I heard these things loud and clear. And Bob has a saying, stop tiptoeing through life trying to make it safer than death, because that's exactly what I had been doing. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And he asked me some questions that made me question myself. And the size of the questions you ask yourself determine your focus. And as you focus, if you're looking up into greater things, that's what that's going to create your reality. But if you're looking down the cross, that's going to create also the reality you don't want. And so the ability for us that God has given us is the ability to choose. And so the first thing I want to share with you that I learned was how to set a goal. Now, here I was, a 42-year young grown man, and I didn't even know how to set a goal. And so there's three types of goals. And I can go into this for hours, but the first type of goal we call an A type of goal. And the A type of goal, guys, is this. This is something we know we can do it. A B type of goal is a goal that you think you can. So what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, if A plus B, like let's say maybe I just throwing a number hypothetically out. Let's say you're making 50 grand a year, right? And if you do everything right and you save enough, you'll be able to get to this point in 5 years, 10 years of saving money. That's something you think you can do. But see, that's where people lose inspiration. I've had so many business partners and they don't have a purpose. They don't know their why. See, when you want something, you always get it. The problem is though, people don't know what they want. And so the law always works. It's always working for you. That's the beauty of this. And if it's not the results you want, there's nothing wrong with that. You just look and assess the result and you plug the opposite into what you want. It's called the law of polarity. Polar opposite. So if it's 10 foot from the ceiling, from the floor all the way to the ceiling, it's got to be 10 foot from the top all the way down. If it's 100 miles from my home to your home, it's got to be 100 miles from your home to my home. If there's a hot, there's got to be a cold. If there's a good, there's a bad. You see, you wouldn't know a bad if there wasn't a good. And so hopefully this is making sense. Now, the other thing too, guys, this is what I mean by inspired action. The C type of goal is what this is right here. You have no idea how to get it. This is what you want. And it's going to scare and excite you all at the same time. I once asked, he was a World War II fighter pilot in the bombings. He literally flew planes. And I said, how do you know when get the right goal? And he said, it's so simple. He said, what you do is that's when you get the most shrapnel shot up at your plane. That's when your plane's basically falling apart. That's when you're right over top of your target. And that's what I mean by exhilaration and excitement and fear all at the same time. You see, if you're not setting a goal like that, you're going to quit even before you get started. That person goes up and they come down, they go up, they go down. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Because that was me my whole entire life. I would set goals and then I would kind of lose my luster. And so I literally teach people how to choose what they want. We help you decide. We help you find what's inside of you. It's not that we're going to decide that for you. We just simply ask you questions, put you through exercises that helps you to figure out what you truly want and what your desire is. Now, once I started to realize the goal, and I want you to think about this for a second, guys. If you guys, I don't know, let's say we're going to Disney World, right? And you've got to travel down I-75. And let's say you're up in Michigan, where I came from, and you want to make it to Disney World down 75. Well, if you go north on 75, your intention might be great. You're trying to get where you want to go, but you're never going to hit I-75. See, most people in life, what we tend to do is we don't even know where we're at. And if we don't know where we're at, how can we decide where we're going to go? So you've got to know where you're at and you got to know where you want to go. These are big steps in this. And so once we start to see those steps, we can literally, and you may be off target. Here's the beauty of this. You could be off target 99.99% of the time. And that happens all the time. But when you set the target, it's just like a guided missile, a heat-seeking missile. It's off target. If you guys know, God bless, Sean Connery just passed away. I love that guy, James Bond. And if you ever picture those missiles, the guided missiles, how it was going around things, over things, under things, that's what your goal's like. You see, Carlyle said that we're mostly like rudderless ships. Most people act like rudderless ships in life. They never set a goal. And so if you picture being the sailor always has a picture in his mind of the port in which he's going. And there might be thousands of shorelines, thousands of miles of rocky shores in which he's trying to navigate. And he'll never get to the port unless he sets the goal. And that's what the guided missile does. It may be off target the whole entire time, but when you program those coordinates, it always hits its target 99.99% of the time. And so you got to set that goal. The bigger thing too that I found is this. King Solomon in the Bible said, and I reiterate this all the time, where there is no vision, the people will perish. But the flip side, the law of polarity, if there is a vision, the people will not perish. So you see, we have to get an image. And I want to ask you a couple of questions here for a moment. I remember when I sat down and spoke to my mentor about this, I kind of thought I was my name. And he said, no, you're not your name. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm a body. He said, no. He said, he goes, you are a perfect spirit. You have a mind and you live in a body. And he said, spirit works with and through you, through the mind and the body, with and through. But he said, we have to give you an image. You don't have anything to work with. Because what I find is when most of the time when I ask people what the mind looks like, we typically think the brain, right? So let's look about this. I want you to right now play a little bit along with me. And I want you to do this. I want you to look and I want you to think about this. And what does your front door look like of your home? What color is it? And when I do that, now go into let's do this. What's your refrigerator look like? What color is it? How many doors does it have? Do the doors open right to left or left to right? Do they open from the top or the bottom? You see, what tends to happen when I ask these questions, it makes you go into your kitchen. It's allowing you to see the image, the picture. And so what happens with this, now we need to give a picture or an image to your mind. And the best picture I've ever seen was designed by a chiropractor in 1934 in San Antonio, Texas, named Thurman Fleet. And here's what he did. He basically saw this up here as your mind. This is the physical body down below. So we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind in the body. This really blew my mind. You see, in school systems, what we teach is we load up information into the conscious mind. This part of our mind can accept and it can reject information. And a lot of things that we learned tonight, we can accept the information, we can reject it, we can neglect it. But the question I want to ask you is this. If some of the information I'm sharing, the concepts, tools, and strategies, if that can help you create an image and take you where you want to go, closer to your goal, that's when you need to contemplate this stuff. So don't accept, don't reject, and don't neglect it. I want you to see if you can utilize it. And so, long story short, this right here, you start to add in book information. You have sensory inputs up here, your 5 senses. But here's where it gets really interesting. Energy flows to and through us, and energy just is. And we have negative, and we have positive. What I mean by this, the energy comes to and through us, but we attach meaning to the information. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, is the glass half empty? Is it half full? Right? And see, if something's, you ever seen Newtonian physics, Newton's cradle? See, Isaac Newton said this in the Bible, God calls it sowing and reaping, right? You've also maybe heard of the yin and the yang, right? Everything has a polar opposite. And so if something's a little bad, when you pull those little Newton cradle balls apart, it's a little good. But if it's really bad, it's really good. So it's all how we find it. See, there's always something equal and opposite in reaction. And so here's what happens with this. When you start to get information in, this is your fertile ground. This is the emotional mind. This is where you have feelings to. Up here is the visual mind. My little girl, I teach her this concept, guys. So this up here is the mindset. So for this purpose tonight, this is my mind when you guys look at me or anyone else. So I see the vision line here, and above, that's the conscious mind, and this is the subconscious mind, and the body's down below. Now, what happens when you throw information, when you ask questions, okay, what it does is it stimulates the subconscious mind. And you'll see people make funny faces with their face. They'll make all kinds of different facial expressions. That's telling you exactly what's in the subconscious mind where we act from. You see, it's the conscious mind. That's where we can think and visualize, but we actually act from the subconscious mind. And so in doing this, what I mean by this is this. When you guys go through this, this is the farmer up here. I love teaching it this way. And the farmer chooses a type of seed that he gets to plant down in the fertile soil. And James Allen had a beautiful quote. He said, your mind is like a fertile garden. Your thoughts are like seeds. You can plant flowers or you can plant weeds. So it's completely up to us what we want to plant. So I thought, well, man, if I'm having a bad thought, what's the exact opposite of that? That's how easy this is to flip and change. So for instance, my little girl's 8 years old. I've been teaching this for years. And I said, Cadence, our mind is just like that TV up on the wall. She said, what do you mean, Daddy? I said, well, if you turn the TV on and you don't like what you see, what you're seeing is in the consciousness. And that's going to cause you to feel a certain way. So if you don't like the image, it makes you feel bad. Your energy drops. And I said, if you have low energy, what are you going to attract back to your life? Equal and opposite. You guys follow me? So I said, then what we want to do is change the picture. How do you change the picture? She says, well, I take the remote and change it. I said, can't you do that with your mind? She goes, well, what do you mean? I said, what do you love to do? She goes, well, I love horses. I said, somebody said something bad that makes you feel bad. And what can you do? I said, you can flip it and think about what you want to think about. And when you focus on what you think about, you start to change how you feel. And she was like, oh my gosh. Now let's say that you're not really focused on an image, but you don't feel good. That's where you flip the image. Now, if the image hasn't yet created what you feel, that's okay. So let's say you're setting a goal right now, and you have this goal and you want to, I don't know, maybe you're network marketing or something, and you want to hit the top of your company, right? Or you own your own business and you want to build this thing. What I want you to do is go back and find what makes you feel good. Now, when I say feel good, I'm talking like you got goosebumps, guys. Like that's how I know when I'm on fire, I have goosebumps. That means that I'm activating the subconscious mind. That right there, when you put it there, it doesn't matter. If I put nightshade, a deadly poisonous plant here, it grows. See, the universe doesn't care what grows. It gives all seeds the same opportunity. That means you and I. Now, if I put, I don't know, tomatoes there, it's going to grow too. And we can only have it a 16th of an inch apart and it'll still grow equally. So it's up to us to pick out what we want to plant in there and water it. And the biggest thing that I've found is how to ask questions. And when I ask questions, it creates a little portal way. I like to call this little black line here the ego. And I don't mean ego like I'm better than anybody or anything like that. It's just that's what protects the subconscious mind. Remember how I said you can accept and reject information here? Well, once it's here, you can't accept and reject it. It's there. See, this is called a paradigm. I had no clue what this was. A paradigm is it's a program. It's a subconscious, okay, program stored in your subconscious mind. This program stored down here, and it controls all of our unconscious, subconscious behaviors. Now, what do I mean by that? I want you to go right back into your thoughts here, and I want you to think about when you brush your teeth in the morning. Use the same strokes every single time. You see a child, a little baby, when they're learning to put their clothes on, you might see them try to deduce and think, and they'll put their pants on top of their arms in their head. Now, we as adults would never do that. We don't even have to think about it because we have a program stored right here that tells us how to put the clothes on. You see, the key is this. The first 8 years of our life, our cup is completely open. It's just the subconscious mind of that little 6 to 8 year old child. And what happens is all the information gets downloaded continuously from TV, from the news, from cell phone, all those things that just literally bombarding into these children. Don't believe me? Money's the root of all, right? You've heard these things. Money doesn't grow on, right? People that are redheaded or what? All these things, right? These things get stored, and by no means am I picking on these people, but it gets stored here. And we have to have all these rules, like how to eat food, how to be proper with other people, how to, answer the phone properly, how to walk, how to crawl. See, we're goal-seeking organisms as children. That's all we know how to do. The first thing is to be able to learn to walk. And then once we start to learn to walk, we start to crawl, we go from crawling to walking to skipping to jumping, all these things. We're designed to do that. And then all of a sudden that 6 to 8 years comes along and the conscious mind starts to form up here. And you're in school and you're doing your thing. Imagine, image, puts here, you're in imagination. See, you're in theta. And now you get in trouble in school and your teacher says, hey, Kenny, pay attention to what you're doing. And then I would get in trouble and I would laugh, which would get me more attention. And so I started getting attention for being negative programmed. And this makes no sense, but it doesn't matter. If somebody smokes a cigarette, they're programmed to smoke a cigarette. We all know that's not a good thing. We know that it can kill them and cause cancer, but yet they still take it. Isn't that crazy? Now, knowing that, wouldn't it make sense that if we could put what we want into the subconscious to get what we want? That's a huge thing what the stick man does. It allows us to gain clarity. See, when you're clear, you can create anything. That's the beauty of this. I believe Jesus in the Bible said, that which you see me do, you can do even more, if only you believe. And he also said, from him who gained more shall retain any. And from him who had not shall be taken away even that which he has. And you see, what he was saying is if you understand this stuff, you will start to lose fear. So remember how I was talking about negative and positive, right? Let me start to erase it. But I want to show you this because negative is when we attach. Remember how I said energy's flowing too, right? All places, right? And we attach the meaning to the thoughts. So this over here, let's say that this is worry and doubt. Okay. Over here is faith based on understanding. I love that. I'm not asking you to go do stuff blind faith-wise. I can tell you this, in the information I've been using, I started this information, Lord, back into February. In a matter of months, I was able to literally go into selling my practice, buying a home in Florida, relocating my family, and changing my whole lifestyle. And Bob says that. He said, literally, you're going to need a telescope to look back in 6 months and see how far you've come. And it's the absolute truth. And I'm not telling people this because I read a book. I'm telling you through experience of doing this stuff. It is mind-blowing how fast it changes. And so worry and doubt can start right here in the conscious mind. Or we can put faith and understanding. So if you have a bad thought, what's the exact opposite? That's our law of polarity. Flip that and put in what you want. Okay? The next thing is this, guys. Once you get past the worry and understanding, it starts to lead to fear. This is one of my favorite acronyms. Fear stands for false emotion appearing real. Now, there is danger in life, But fear, you're making it up in your head. We've all done this stuff. I've done it too. Now, not only fear, though, as we're talking about before with faith and understanding. Now, the other thing too, guys, once it goes down from fear, the next thing you start to do is it starts to lead to procrastination. And this is one of my favorite things to share with people. It's a second lesson I love to share. It's called the knowing and doing gap. Do you know, or maybe me, I used to know tons of information, but I wouldn't do anything with it. You see, it took me 17 years to actually go and apply this and to become a consultant and life coach as I become. And I always wanted to do that. And it was a major life altering event. God had to whack me in the head half dozen times in a matter of days to make me see what his plan was for me, because I didn't want to listen to it. And I tell people, if you love what you do for work, keep doing it. If you're gaining psychological benefit, you should never stop it. You do it for free. But if it's not, you need to follow your heart. Don't worry about if you can make money at something. That's what I was always taught to do. And that led me to be the most unhappy. So why would I do something that doesn't make me happy, right? And so long story short, when you procrastinate, see, people have information here, but they don't utilize it, because this is where we act from. How many people, maybe you know somebody in real estate, they're killing it, but they can't teach it. They're completely lost all the time, right? Like they're doing it and they say, well, just do it. See, in life, it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. And that's a big, big lesson I learned. But not only procrastination, guys, this opposite is wellness. And it just keeps going down the road. So you've got procrastination. Procrastination can lead to depression, which is what we're seeing tons of today, right? And then this down here leads to dis-ease, a body not at ease. This is what I like to call friction. This is when what God has impressed in us is not being expressed. And we literally start to break down. We start to falter, whether it's physically, mentally. We're not the same with our family, our friends. And I wanted to make sure my calling is to make sure I'm the best dad, an example for my little girl that I can be. And I found the best thing we can do in this world is to create the best of ourselves that we possibly can. Now, the opposite of all this, with wellness, you start to get action is opposite of depression. And then you get acceleration. And as you get acceleration, that leads to a body at ease. See, in life, you don't want to slow down. You want to calm down. You see, one of my good friends, this is really funny story here. He was driving a BMW, went to test drive it. And this lady was there at the dealership, and she said, I'm going to show you how this thing works. And my buddy's pretty masculine. He's like, oh yeah, whatever, this and that. And she goes, oh no, you're gonna be in the passenger seat. I'm going to show you what this car can do. Well, they get in the car, and he said, Kenny, it's one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned. He goes, we're going up the exit ramp. She said, I'm going to go off the side into the shoulder. And she said, I'm going to show you, I'm going to speed up in the turn, in the shoulder, in the gravel, and show you what this car can do. Man, he goes, oh my God, I grabbed a hold of everything. He goes, I realized how much easier it was to go through the turn. And he said, what that taught me, he said, it was so profound. He said, my past history, my subconscious, my paradigm told me to slow down when I should have actually sped up. And you see, in life, it's not slowing down, it's calming down. Big, big difference with this. So this right here, I want to clean some of this up and go through this. But guys, this right here, have you guys ever seen the movie? This may be a bad reference. I'm getting a couple years of myself. Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. Remember how I said everything I do with the stick man model, right? Now I want to go here. So I want you to see this right over here. But this, the conscious and the subconscious. Now, the K is going to equal knowing. And the DK equals don't know. Growing up, I absolutely loved the Karate Kid. Here's what I learned. You remember how Daniel's son was getting his butt kicked? And he moved, I think it was from New Jersey to California. And what he did, sorry guys, and what he did in this is he started to realize that the K equals the knowing. So at first, when he moved it from Jersey to California, those kids were beating his butt in karate. So he didn't know on a conscious level what was even happening, what they were using against him. And he didn't know subconsciously either. Then Mr. Miyagi jumps down, saves him, protects him. And all of a sudden, Daniel-san says, well, what was that? And Mr. Miyagi said, well, he goes, it's karate. So now Daniel-san knows on a conscious level, right, above, but he doesn't know how to protect himself. So he asked him if he could work with him. Now, unbeknownst to Daniel-san, he starts going through and he's got him doing wax on, right, wax off, clean sand the floor, all those things. I don't remember all the moves and stuff, but I remember the impact it's made on my life. And all of a sudden, he's doing all this. And one day, Mr. Miyagi decides to go out and he decides that he's going to go through and he's going to literally, he's going to go fishing all day long. And Daniel-san's at his house fixing everything up. Mr. Miyagi comes home and he's so PO'd, Daniel-san is. He's like, where have you been all day? Why are you doing this? Why did you leave me here and all this stuff? And Mr. Miyagi says, not as it appears. Daniel-san says, what do you mean? I'm a kid. You left me here. You made me do all this work while you were out fishing. So Mr. Miyagi says to him, not as it appear. And he said, show me sign the flaw. And just like every novice, he would just kind of go through the motion. But then Mr. Miyagi looked at him and he said this, he said, no, show me sign the flaw. And he showed him a proper technique. And he kept doing these moves. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the next thing that happens is Mr. Miyagi starts to tell him what to do. And he's throwing punches at Daniel-san. Daniel-san's blocking and kicking all these things. Now, then all of a sudden, Mr. Miyagi stops telling him what to do, and he's just throwing the punches and kicks, and Daniel-san's blocking everything. Why is this important? Well, what happened now, Daniel-san didn't know that he knew karate, but subconsciously he knew it. How many people do you know in real estate? Could be network marketing, could be just any business, you name it, and they're killing it and they can't teach it. That was me. You see, I got to a certain level and then I was stuck and I didn't know what I did wrong. So once I didn't know what I did wrong, I couldn't get unstuck. To be a true master, you have to know on a conscious level what it is, and you have to know on a subconscious level what it is. And then you can walk people through it. This is what my grandfather always said to me, Kenny, when you build a tree house, are you going to be the person that's going to drop the ladder down for other people to get in? Or are you going to pull the ladder up? And you see, what I've learned is the true meaning of living is giving. The more that I give to others, the more my life becomes blessed. And it's total reciprocation. It is the universal law of circulation. The more great that we put out, the more that comes back. And that's why I just love this material, because every time I share it, I get better at it. I understand just a little bit better. And when the student's ready, the teacher presents. But the beauty is when you become the teacher, you also become a better student. And you learn just a little bit more on how to apply these laws. And so once you understand here on a conscious level, it doesn't matter how much you know. It only determines what you do with what you know. So many greats in this world never even graduated high school. Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, right? Carnegie. Those are just to name a few. They never even were able to make it through school, and yet built some of the largest all-time businesses in the world. It's not our formal education. Excuse me. It's how we apply that formal education and how we apply it properly. You see, in life, I love this thing, and he says, it's not what you do, but how you do it. You know, if you have two doctors, and one's doing this, they're both doing case histories, they're both doing exams. Maybe they're taking some kind of MRI or X-rays. But what will tend to happen is one's getting completely different results, seeing way more people than the other person. See, they're doing the same thing, but they're not doing it as effectively as the other. If you give me tools, see, what I want to share with you today is I want you to think about this. We get it. You go into a gym to lift weights. And we know that if we lift the weights properly, then we can actually build muscle. And the better you connect your mind to what you're doing, imaging what muscle you're using, the faster you'll actually grow the muscle because the mind controls the muscle. But here's the thing. See, we have trouble envisioning something that we can't see. You know, I don't know exactly how a cell phone works, but it works. Everything's already here. You see, God's already created everything, right? And what we're doing is tapping into it and demanding it. The law of supply and demand. God is always supply, but it's up to us to demand what we want. You know, the cell phone, this thing here by Steve Jobs, that's something he desired. And so he saw it, and he knew once he saw it, he could hold it in his hand. And so affirmations are so huge. Here's a nugget I want to share with you. Every day, get in the attitude of gratitude and never stop. Before my feet get out of the bed, the first thing I do is I sit there in my bed and I go through 10 wonderful things that I'm grateful for. And I actually feel it. I get to where I feel goosebumps before I get out of bed. And then I write down 10 things that I'm so happy and grateful about. And that doesn't just mean things that I have, but things that I envision. You see, I'm talking about the things from the no thing. Once it goes from the no thing, once you tie it, once you put the image up here and make a little puffy cloud an idea, you start to add more thoughts to it and starts to get more traction. And then over time, you start to embed it down into the heart of hearts, as they say. Once you do that, the roots are taking place. And the key is this, it's faith based on understanding. That was the biggest difference for me. I was no longer guessing. You see, the only thing that we lack is perfect knowledge and understanding. And the more that we study, the more we become aware and open our mind to, you see, your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And if you're not opening it to the desires that which you have, you're never going to achieve what your possibilities are. And so once you start to embed that, it starts to grow, it starts to flower. And you can continually get and gain. Never be satisfied, ever, but always be grateful. So when you write those things, not only what you're grateful for and you have, but things that you desire. The second thing that I always learned to do with this was to also go through and visualize it and go 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Maybe you listen to some really fantastic music, right? I love like classical music to listen to clear my mind. And what I do is I ask for spiritual guidance from God and how I can better serve for the day. Once I do that, the third component is I give love to anyone or anything that is affecting me, maybe that I'm upset with. For you see, what I've learned is I'm not upset with anything outside of me. It all starts inside of me. My mentor once said to me, I was complaining a lot early in practice, and I said, you know, it's just this, it's that. And he said, well, you know what's funny? He said, Kenny, whenever something great happens, he goes, you're just blaring it from the mountaintops. But if something bad happens, he goes, my God, you're all just, you know, it's not your fault. It's everybody else's fault. But he said, my question to you is who's the center of both situations? And once I looked at that, once I thought about that, at first my book bag on my back, a backpack, seemed kind of heavy because I was carrying all those rocks with all those excuses that I had. He said, once you pull the excuses out, know there's only one excuse, and that's you. The book bag, that backpack gets really light. And my life started to change. And it's a nonstop regression ever since. I wake up every morning and think about this. I used to watch Sports Center first thing, or maybe the news, right? I haven't watched the news since I was a kid, but let's just say some people do that. See, everybody's cup is full. If I was holding a coffee cup right before you right now, everybody's cup's full. You have to pour it out. You see, in God, the crucifix, the cross, it's a crossroads. And God has a funny way of tipping us over to pour us out so that he may pour into us. And I think it was in Romans in the Bible, those that are exalted become humble, but those that are humble become exalted. And when we make room for that, all of a sudden God has a place to pour into us. It's called the vacuum law. If you want to get new clothes, empty your closet. I promise you get new clothes. If you dig a hole outside in the grass, I promise you God's going to fill it back. If your bank account gets low, I promise you you're going to get money back in it. Use these things to control the image you're putting in your mind, to control how you feel. When you control how you feel, your body vibrates at a different level, and it can only attract back what it is. And so this is how all this game is completely played. And the greatest ever of all time, that's what they do. They continually put in their mind what they want. They do things like vision boards, dream casting. They'll have books. I carry a goal card with me. Every single day, I've got this sucker on me with my goals. First thing I do when I wake up, I look at it. I thank God for it, that I'm working for it. Because in King Solomon said, where there is, he said this, he said, in all of our gaining or all of our getting, get understanding. It's not the stuff, it's not the car, it's not the house, it's not the watch. What do we have to become to get that thing? And so the last thing I think that I want to share tonight with you guys before we open up to some Q&A is self-image. Wonderful book on this is self-image. And what I started to realize, there was a great book you should all check out. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. He wrote it in, I think, 1960. This book is it basically, our mind, in the subconscious mind, has a preset. And this preset, think of it like your thermostat in your home. And let's say we have it set at 70 degrees. And let's say one of our children kick open the front door and it drops to 65. Well, that 5 degrees separation is going to cause the heat to kick on, and it's going to cause it to raise back to 70 degrees. What if that was your income? Have you ever noticed that? Maybe one year you earn, I don't know, your average is 70 over the last 5 years. Look at your last 5 years earning. It's amazing. Maybe you're making 70, 100, it doesn't matter, whatever your number is. And it goes to 75 one year. Well, then your thermostat's set at 70. So it's going to bring it back to 70 the next year, or 65. You see, there's always a set point. And if you do not increase your awareness, you can only keep in life what you understand. And so if you're not serving more, as Jesus said in the Bible, he said, the greatest amongst you is a servant to all, not one. It's not giving something to somebody that you care about, you love, that you know you're going to get it back. That's not giving. It's giving love to somebody you know is going to give it back. That's not giving. That's not loving someone. It's loving someone that you have no idea who they are. It's giving something financially to somebody that you're not going to get it back. That's truly giving. And when you come from there, God continuously blesses your life continuously. The closer we are to the source, the more the source will have. And so what I want to do now is just open this sucker up. Any questions, guys? And how we do these things. I mean, anything you guys have questions on, I'd love to answer them before we step off.
Hey, Kenny, we don't see any questions just yet, but I just wanted to kind of go through and just the people that are saying this is great content, and that never be satisfied but always be grateful. I mean, like, one of the things that I know you for is that you have this ability to sort of recite quotes, and I know, there's many books. Can you, on the board there, can you write the 3 most powerful books that you believe at this point, based on your teachings, that you believe that we should probably crack into and add to our collection?
Oh, absolutely. Proverbs and the Bible, number 1. I learned this, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't know this, but Proverbs is written, I know, by King Solomon, the wisest man of all times. He was 12 years old, and he took over the kingdom, and God asked him what he wanted. He said, I want wisdom to help my people. And God said, because you asked for nothing for yourself, I'm going to make you the wisest and wealthiest man of all time. And what I didn't know, there's 31 Proverbs. There's a proverb for every day of the month. And what I want to share with you, the power of this is repetition. There's 2 ways in life you make a change. Number 1, it's an emotional, crazy event. Like I remember when Princess Diana died, the things went into the planes crashed in the side of the 911, right? I've had those emotional events when Kobe died. Those my daughter, getting married to my wife, those type of things are moving, and they can change you. Okay. But the biggest way people change is by constant spaced repetition over time. So what my recommendation is, read Proverbs every day of the month. You know exactly what day you're on. Today should be day number 2. And read that every day for 6 months and watch how your life changes. Number 2, my second favorite book, Science of Getting Rich. Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. It's about 110 page book. And I, again, read each chapter for minimally 2 weeks and then go to the next chapter and watch what happens to your life. Number 3, for me, man, it was another, I love Wayne Cadera, The Divine Mentor. My pastor gave me this book. It was amazing. And I'm wearing something that makes me think of this. I'm wearing this bicycle shirt. And I do so because there's a wonderful video you can check out on YouTube called The Backward Bicycle. And this guy shows how the mind gets so conditioned we don't see reality. We literally only see in life what we're programmed to see. You don't see the world as it is, but as you are. And so that's why I love to travel to see things for myself. But watch that video and you're going to see just how conditioned. It took him 5 minutes of input every single day for, I think it was 8 months before he could ride a backward bicycle. And what he did is they had it when they turned left, the bike would turn right. They recasted it. And so it just shows how stuck your mind gets. And that's why the constant repetition spaced over time. And that's biblically, 40 days, 40 nights, 40 years. That's about what it takes. It takes about 30 to 40 days to create a new habit. And when you get stuck in that habit, you've got to put in a new habit. So hope that makes sense. But those are my 3 books, without a doubt. Incredible.
Those are great. Those are great books. Amy has a question. What's your recommendation for changing what's in the subconscious or the unconscious, rather? What's in the unconscious?
Well, one thing that we do, and that's a phenomenal question, Amy. Thank you for asking that. I had a client the other day, and we were talking, and I was trying to explain to him, don't focus on what you don't want, right? So if we're not getting the results, Amy, that we don't want, that's okay. I was rowing a boat of ignorance for years and years and years, right? And so what I learned to do is not put any energy towards what I don't want. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, he said, energy flows where your attention goes. Okay. So what happens is if you are cold, you would not rub ice cubes on your body to get warm. My point is, don't focus on that thing, that program you don't like. If we have a brand new computer that you have, you would put a new program in it. You'd put a new app in your phone. So we teach people how to build that construct. And the way you do that is the repetition of the information and the desires of what you want. You have to create the image. And then you've got to plant it over and over and over again. And as you do this, that seeps into the subconscious, Amy. And once it takes root, it grows. See, the key is what we do is we change our mind too much. And what I mean by that is most people, you'll get what you want. Anytime you want, I'm just talking stuff here, a car, a house, a handbag, or whatever, you'll get it. But you have to decide what you want. And as soon as you decide, game over, you'll get it. I hope that helps.
There's a couple more questions, but I wanted you to kind of speak to what this, I guess you have like is it a mini coaching course, or you're doing some things throughout the week? And can you explain what the Paradigm Climber, that whole program is about?
Yeah, what we did is I had some people around me that just said, the stuff that you like, the information you have and what you've done, how you've done it so quickly over time, can you put that into something? So what I basically have created with the help of others and our team is I go live daily, early in the morning every day, so you can start your day off, right? See, I want to teach people a daily method operation. And what I mean by that is plan your day, right? Don't let your day plan you. Attack the day, right? Love the day, create the day. I always say, make it a great day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live daily for people inside of Paradigm Climbers. I'm going to have tactics and strategies that we utilize with inspirational, and also biblical references tied into it, because it's all there. And I love when I started to learn how to use the mind model that I keep showing to read the Bible, like the Bible finally started to make sense. And so I do that, but also what we do, I have relationship building too. So on Saturdays, I go live with my wife And we share some of the things that we have done as a couple. Because what I found is wealth is all encompassing. It's physical, it's mental, it's social, it's spiritual, it's all those things. And also to Monday nights, this is one of the biggest things that I want to do for people is on Monday nights at 8 p.m., like I did tonight, I'm going to do an hour course. So we'll go 30 to 45 minutes on content. And I'm going to do all questions and answers to help tie those loose ends together to the best of my ability to help you. And what I do with people, I don't tell people what to do. You already know what you need to do. I'm going to help you pull that out of yourself. You see, what I have learned is this. In the book, Science of Getting Rich, he said, if you're stronger than someone physically or mentally, the only difference is the tool. So what I like to do is ask people questions, share metaphors. That's what Christ did. He never spoke to people directly. He would say things like, I'm going to make you a fisher of men. He would say things backwards, and that's what speaks to the subconscious mind. And when you plant that seed, it starts to grow over time. So that's really what Paradigm Climbers is. And we've got some other things that we do too as well, Jay, where, I do one-on-one stuff with people. Also, we have some other programs we're creating. And I've also got a thing called Thinking into Results, where it's a 6-month course if people really want to dive in and hone in. It basically takes all the information. I tell people it's like there's scattered light. And if you can picture using a magnifying glass and it hones all that in and makes a laser, that's what that material did for me. Like when I started this material, I had 2 companies. I don't even know how many I have. I think I have 10 or something in a matter of months. Because what it did is it helped me focus that information. So I ask people, if you want to go fast in life, that's where you want to go. If not, that's fine. You know what I mean? And I'll still go live and do things and stuff as well. But that's where I'm focusing my information and attention at this point. People want to go to that next level with that.
I think we got one last question, and this is from Kristen. It's really 3 questions in one. One is about accountability and coaching, but I think probably the one that's the most important now, because I know you can address the accountability and the coaching component in that. In fact, Kathy just posted a link for everybody. Go ahead and select that link when we're done. I think it's a tiny investment in your excellence. Let's call it that. Would you say that to be the case? But Kathy asked, who are your mentors? And if we can wrap with that, I think that'll also sort of set the tone for everybody to understand exactly like how you've really, to some degree, come to be who you are.
That's a great question. I have literally I can't even tell you that. I've read thousands of books. The Science of Getting Rich, I've probably read 450 times. The Bible, like Proverbs, hundreds of times. And what my mentors, Bob Proctor is probably one of my primary. My father has taught me so many wonderful lessons. I've had so many wonderful. I'm literally a piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle, right? And but Bob took what made sense to me, because I've done so many other things like Tony Robbins, all kinds of different coaching, but I never found a system like this, Jay. This literally, there was a spiritual component which I absolutely fell in love with, and universal laws tied in with it. And it just literally took, I guess, a great example would be if you took a 2,000-piece puzzle. We're looking at one piece. That's that moment in our life right now. And we can't see the whole picture. That's God. God sees our whole picture. We have no idea where we're going with that, right? But we just have to have faith in that. And all of a sudden you see some connections. As Steve Jobs said, he said, you can never understand your future in the now or looking forward. You can only connect dots looking backwards. And you start to see things, you start to piece it together, and all of a sudden you get an outline. And literally that's the purpose that we have. And Bob, what he did is he literally took 60 years of learning and studying from Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie and also Earl Nightingale. And he combined it. It took him 9 years to figure out what he did to himself. The paradigms, just like Amy had asked me before. And same thing had happened to me. I had no idea why I did the things I did. My grandfather and dad would be like, why'd you do that? You knew better than that. I don't know. Consciously, I knew better, but we don't act from what we know. We act from the subconscious. And I kept doing these things. But that I guess your question, Bob Proctor has been my major mentor that I've studied for years and got certified.
Excellent.
So
excellent. We're going to say before everybody fades to black, if you want more content, you want more information, definitely hit that link Again, hey, Kathy, can you post that one more time? And we just encourage you to sort of add this to your arsenal, right? Because, coaching is like, many things in life. Sometimes you just need a different voice, right? Same message, different voice. I mean, but I think that one of the benefits that Kenny really brings, and I mean, I work with Kenny every day. Like we work on all kinds of stuff. We're always like, again, I'm on the West Coast, he's on the East Coast, and I routinely get 5:15 a.m. texts and calls. Okay. He's just it's painful, right? But what happens is this guy's got like a real sense of worth, and Misty knows him, and I mean, Steve knows him, and it's just one of these things. It's very tactile, and I have to kind of give you a measure of praise. And this is from one man to another. I literally love you. Like you just bring a sense of joy and happiness to me, in the chaos of this thing called life. I can always count on you to bring like a super positive, let's get this thing done. Hey Jay, I got this thing. And as it's like, okay, and he just brings you in, and so when you focus on it, like there's only 5 people that are going to be those 5 really influential people in your life. And there was a book written about it, right? 5 levels of leadership, John C. Maxwell. But the thing is that you would be upgrading your life if you make Kenny one of your 5. And with that, Kenny, do you have to share anything else? Would you like to share anything else with anybody?
Thank you guys all for the opportunity. I'm going to go back, read this, look at this, and get better. And that's what I love to do every day. Just get better and better. Jay, thank you for your guidance. All of you guys on this call tonight, all of you people helping getting this content out. The stuff that's helped change my life. I'm just a spoke in the will, and without you guys, it's nothing. So thank you. Like I said, I mean, I think the cost of Paradigm Climbers is what, $19 a month, guys. It's like 60 something cents a day to invest back into yourself. So one thing I will promise you, always get everything that I have and more. So I don't know how to go any other speed. Jay, you know that. So God bless you. Thank you so much.
Peace. Thanks, everybody.